give him a follow or a subscribe. Yeah, no, that was a banger. All right, so I got another one queued up for us. It's 10 microtransactions in video games that baffled us by GamerAnx. So this is a high profile channel, 8.61 million subscribers. But yeah, I definitely wanted to check this one out because I just find the concept so fucking funny. Let's see what we got.
Microtransactions are everywhere, and we are so numb to it at this point that even the dumbest crap.
Y'all remember that one like CEO? I can't remember who it was, but he said that like, oh, a good idea would be charging people for ammo in the middle of a match. Like, here's $1 to reload your gun. You know, in the heat of battle, gamers will do it. It's the most insidious bullshit I've ever heard in my life. They might even touch on it here in this video, but fuck, man.
Possible is met with an indifferent shrug. Ghostbusters in Destiny 2, Nicki Minaj in The Calling of the Duty, Post Malone in The Hunt Showdown. Oh, games.
Bro, like, no shade on Nicki Minaj. You know, obviously she's famous and successful and, you know, more so than me. But, like, why the fuck was she in Call of Duty? That just seemed like dystopian to me almost.
Just full of out-of-place junk all over now. And you know what? It's strange. Hi, folks. It's Falcon, and today on GameRanks, the 10 weirdest microtransactions.
All right, let's fucking go. Jeez.
Starting off at number 10, it's all the weird crap in Path of Exile. Most of the time, all the out-of-place stuff that you see in a game comes from crossovers and tie-ins, like I mentioned in the intro. But Path
Was that Jack Sparrow in Sea of Thieves? He looked so fucking weird.
of Exile manages to innovate. It fills itself up with tonally bizarre and out-of-place DLC without brand deals and cross-promo agreements. Now, to be fair, all of these free-to-play games often succumb to the siren song of promotional content, and Path of Exile remains one of the few holdouts, not totally free of sin. While the microtransactions are not skill-based, it's not pay-to-win, and as far as these types of games go, I would actually, unfortunately, have to call it a model of pretty decent behavior, but that doesn't mean it's not lousy with dumb stuff. They do feel a little less gross, being you're not buying promotional billboards for some other media property.
Did anyone in chat play Path of Exile? I have never played that game. I don't know a lot about it. Is it like Diablo?
That's nice. But with all that said, they managed to sneak in some strange stuff. Now, I'm only looking at a small cross-section of stuff here. There's oddball effects like footprints to leave a trail where you walk. You can customize the town portal or make it so things happen when you use a flask. For example,
Dude, that's like on the level of like sprays and shit in games. You know how like people will pad out their battle passes with like sprays? It's like, who gives a fuck? It's like, I'm not really concerned about the foot trail of my fucking character. You know? I don't know. That shit is just not interesting to me.
this one makes 2 toads jump out of your body. Why?
Ooh.
Well, I mean, I didn't want the toads in my body, I guess. The strangest cosmetics by far come from the Pet Lab. I don't know what they were smoking, come up with some of this crap. There's Project Labrador, a robot dog,
What
or
the
a
fuck?
Pomeranian, or a deep water frog, which is a frog that's in a diving suit for some reason. You can have Samara.
But, you know, like, this shit's kind of cute, though. Like, you know, I don't want to rag on it. Like, it's not like by having an effect coming out of your boots that's, like, stupid. I just, you know, I'm just not really that interested in it. But it's cute that it's, like, there, you know? It's cool that you have the option. It's like, I mean, yeah, like having a little fucking Pomeranian follow you around while you're, like, presumably some medieval fantasy warrior. It's kind of cute. Or, like, a robot dog or a frog astronaut. Like, it's cute, you know? I got nothing. There's nothing wrong with that. I guess if you want to spend your money on it, go ahead. Like, if it was free, that'd be better. But, you know, it's harmless.
From the ring follow you around because, you know, that's a pet, I guess. Or Thaumaturgy Dashend, which I think was specifically designed to make content creators to stutter and not say things correctly. Also, it's a Frankenstein wiener dog, because why not? All that,
That
a
thing
dog
actually
in a lab coat,
kinda
and
goes hard,
a
not gonna
mallard
lie.
duck. Just a plain old duck. Not like Howard the Duck, just a duck following you around in the blood-soaked hellscapes
Hell
of
yeah.
Path of Exile. It is super out of place, just plain weird, and you buy it. Like, yeah, they're going to add microtransactions, but man, they make some of the dumbest, weirdest crap possible. Honestly, still better than brand deals. And number 9, pay up or this child will get strangled. It's a bizarre thing to say, but I mean, it's a bizarre choice. Goes back a couple years to something that was meant to be a kid's game, but I gotta highlight it here. I'm talking about this Harry Potter mobile game, Hogwarts Mystery. Honestly,
What the
it's
fuck
your
even
average
is
mobile game
this?
slot that would barely be worth talking about if it didn't make $400 million in 2022 alone. The
$400 million? Who's playing this? I've never heard of this fucking game in my life. Was it just trying to ride the coattails of like Hogwarts Legacy? Is that what this is? What the fuck? I've never heard of this.
Gameplay, it's exactly what you would expect. It basically doesn't have gameplay. It's just new and exciting ways to encourage players to spend money. One of those games that runs on an energy system where you can only perform a few tasks a day, and then you have to
Bro, I hate that shit. That shit feels awful. I hated it in like Clash of Clans. I hated it in Raid Shadow Legends. I hate it everywhere.
wait for the energy to recharge to keep playing. Playing in heavy scare quotes. Like pretty much all these things, they give you enough energy to keep playing for a while. And once you get it through the initial tutorializing, they start putting on the hard sell, pressure you into spending real money so you can keep quote unquote playing. Usually this.
Be honest with me, chat. Anyone in the chat right now, be honest with me. Like, do you play this? Like, where would this be played outside of you taking a shit or waiting for your food to microwave? Like, who's actually hard grinding this game?
Part's mundane, but in Hogwarts Mystery, the game literally starts strangling your kid before asking you to pay up. Like, what happens is that your player character gets caught in a devil's snare, and the game immediately drains all your energy, leaving your player character getting strangled. If you want to stop the strangling, you go get your parents' credit card and pay up. Otherwise, your character is going to get strangled for a half hour while the energy recharges.
No
It can't
shot!
kill you, so it's a reskinned timer. But you can see how people with less impulse control would see that and think they immediately need to drop a few bucks on the game to end the sequence faster. Kind of.
That is so blatantly a beg for your money. It's almost like entertaining. It's like almost respectable. Like they're not trying to hide anything. It's like, look, man, if you don't want to fucking die, give me your money. Oh my god.
Kind of insidious, but also ridiculous. Look at it. It's so blatantly manipulative. It's stupid. It's kind of hard not to laugh. And number 8 is Feast Day Gifts and Pranks. Man, everybody remembers the Mass Effect Dragon Age Origins area of BioWare. They remember it as the peak time for the studio, but what they don't remember is that there is a ton of terrible DLC and microtransactions from this era. Do you remember that stupid Cerberus network from Mass Effect 2? It's basically an online pass with no multiplayer. Yeah. I'm not going to blame them too much. I got to believe that nickel and diming was a mandate from Electronic Arts, but that doesn't make it not asinine. Like Feast Day Gifts and Pranks out of all the
I will say, though, just real quick, Mass Effect 1, Mass Effect 2, Dragon Age Origins, goated games. Absolutely fucking goated games.
Gettable DLC for Dragon Age Origins. That was one of them. Adds a few items you can buy from the camp store, which will make your party members like you more with gifts or dislike you with pranks. Essentially, this DLC completely trivialized the whole like-dislike system of the game. You can make everyone either love you or hate you instantly by just giving these dumb little items to them. Makes all the DLC kind of lame. But what makes it weird is all these items tend to give special effects, like the Alistair doll.
I never played
Morgan, who would
that.
randomly
I never
use
did
it
that.
to inflict pain on Alistair if they're both in the party. Alistair gets a Grey Warden hand puppet to play with. The prank items are also odd, like the protective cone, which you can give to Dog, which puts one of those cones of shame on the boy. You know what I'm talking about, right? And there's goofy stuff like this for every character, and it's all pretty pointless, but kind of amusing in a weird way. Not necessary at all, though.
Ultimately harmless, but like, if you spent money on that, why?
And number 7 is the Premium Travel Pack. Bondi loves to load their games up with overpriced and underwhelming microtransactions.
The fuck is this?
You know this. It's a staple of their games at this point. You just know it's something
okay.
coming from them when they sell like 100 pieces of extra DLC. Their most experience boosts, overpowered weapons, or costumes or crap. It's pretty much always the same for all their games, and there's nothing particularly noteworthy or interesting about it, except for one, the Premium Travel Pack from Tales of Arise.
Oh,
This one does
Tales of
something
Arise,
unusual,
okay.
for one of these time saver DLCs. Instead of making it so that you get more experience, it gives you a blanket discount on all store items. It makes buying...
Isn't Bandai Namco the company that was trying to like force people to quit by like giving them bullshit work and just throwing them into like please quit rooms? You know what I'm talking about? If you know, you know. You know, like they like if they wanted to cut staff, they would send them into these rooms where they'd either have like bullshit assignments or not very many assignments at all, and just try to bore them into quitting because they didn't want to like lay them off. Wasn't that Bandai Namco?
things 30% cheaper across the board. And also some other stuff lowers like cooking time. And it also gives you a bunch of SP for upgrading your character. But the big strange one is the cheaper items. It's a weird choice for an RPG, and it left a lot of players confused and frustrated, leading them to believe that the game made money drop less to encourage players to buy the premium pack. It's one of those situations where maybe they did, maybe they didn't, but the fact that there's DLC affects the total price of everything. It leaves the thought in the back of your head, did the developers intentionally make everything more expensive so they could turn around and sell the intended experience? Nobody knows the actual answer here, and that's frustrating as hell. It'd almost just be better to know that, yes, you need to buy the DLC if the game's just terrible. It would suck, but it'd be a straightforward answer at least. It's a weird choice when you make one of the Ubisoft-style time-saver DLCs. You just never see things.
I remember seeing Tales of Arise advertised on my Steam page, like my homepage. I thought it looked cool from like an art style perspective, but just hearing that made me not want to play. But I don't know, it could be good.
Just do something like that. And there's probably a good reason for it. And number 6 is Frame Data DLC. Speaking of Bondi and their crazy DLCs, in Tekken 7, they charge $2.99 for the frame data. An essential feature of any modern game, the frame data, such a blatantly scummy decision, it might as well just be called the competitive tax. Because if you want to be a real player in Tekken, you need to buy this DLC. If you're not a big fighting game guy, and to be frank...
Bro, that is dystopian. If I had been a lifetime Tekken fan... That shit would have made me crash out. If I'm like, wait, hold on, you're locking the frame data behind a fucking paywall? Because I was fantastic at Soul Calibur, okay? Not to toot my own horn, but that's exactly what I'm doing. I was a god at Soul Calibur. And I was a god at For Honor as well. So like frame data, pretty necessary. Good to know. Insidious as fuck to hide that behind a paywall.
I'm not. I play the hell out of them, but the idea that I could compete for real in, let's say, a tournament, it's a no. That doesn't mean I don't watch real fighting game people. If you want to be a real fighting game person, you need frame data. So this is essentially analysis of what's happening. For everything in the game, it tells you what type of attack it is, the distance it hits, the frame priority, the startup frames, essentially how fast it hits, all the important information fighting game players need to understand what's happening, like exactly what's actually physically happening when they're performing attacks. Studying frame data is one of those things you have to do to understand fighting games. It's like if they decide...
When did that come out? Like, I don't remember hearing about this at all, but I definitely feel like I would have heard about that. That's crazy. That's like so bad.
To charge money so you could have infinite health and training, or to make the opponent crouch, or have infinite gauge.
I hate frame data. You hate frame data?
In pretty much every other fighter, it's just there, but for some reason you got to pay $3 for it here. And number 5 is Friday the 13th Aria. Crossovers everywhere now. I mentioned them in the intro because, of course...
Dude, these are the most random fucking games. These are the most random fucking games.
All these companies are trying to leverage IPs, and I mean, it's a blatant display of corporate greed. And while Multiverses isn't quite so craven as something like Space Jam: A New Legacy, if you start piling on enough of these crossovers, it feels like I'm losing my marbles. I mean, seriously, in Friday the 13th, Arya Stark.
I hate how fighting games have become so mechanical and memorization heavy. That is an interesting opinion. Because, in my opinion, it's like that kind of mechanical aspect of it is like what makes it so fun and good at the highest level. You know what I mean? Maybe, like, would you mind elaborating on that? I'm very curious as to why you think that.
What are we doing here? The stabby kid from Game of Thrones wearing a Friday the 13th hockey mask? It's the crossover everyone wanted,
what
but
the
powers
fuck?
that be were too afraid to do. This probably isn't the strangest costume from the game, but something about it just broke.
That's why I
something in
hate
my
chess
brain.
but love
It's
speed
hard to
chess.
even call it a microtransaction. I mean, it's just a costume.
That's interesting.
And the price isn't micro. It's a 2610 Gleamium to buy. A standard package of Gleamium costs $20. Hope you have a little extra lying around for this bizarre crossover.
Bro,
because it's
who's
$30.
spending money on this?
Think about
bro.
what you could do for $30. Do you want to spend it on Arya Stark in Friday the 13th? I mean, I'm not going to stop you, but your own dignity should. And number 4 is the microtransaction gun. It's a microtransaction that shoots microtransactions. It's Enter the Gungeon's only real microtransaction, and it's a joke weapon that costs money every time you fire it. Obviously, it's a joke on actual microtransaction. They're having a bit of fun here. The gun only costs 99 cents on its own, and it can be unlocked in the game just like in any other weapon, so there's no real need to buy it. They did put it up for sale, though, to add to the joke. That's not a lot to say about this.
Is that sort of like a tongue-in-cheek way to be like, if you want to donate to the game, you can, because I'm not getting Insidious vibes from that.
Once you hear the name, you pretty much know what you're getting. But as a piece of joke DLC, it's actually one of the better ones. I like it. I didn't buy it, but that doesn't mean I don't find it funny. They did put some effort here because every time the gun fires, it shoots out something random. Either a figure of the different playable characters that has a unique effect, some green crystals that are a reference to the Dungeon Keeper mobile game. You know, the EA one that everyone made fun of. It's funny. The guys who made Enter the Gungeon are actually ex-Mythic Entertainment employees, the same studio that made that Dungeon Keeper. At number 3 is fob insurance. The idea of insurance for digital goods isn't completely out there. It's an idea that some games have been trying to push for a while now. It's one of those things that's a completely inverted problem. If the developers wanted to, they could just make it so you don't lose anything for dying. It's like a mafia shakedown operation. They're the only protection in town, so you better pay up. Oh, it'd be a shame if the code that I put into the game executed. Usually insurance is reserved for things like ships and spaceports or plots of land, but in Metal Gear Solid 5, there's FOB, or Forward Operating Based Insurance. FOBs are part of the persistent online game portion
No
of
shot.
5 that most people don't bother with.
No shot. They've got you buying in-game insurance with real money. Dude, no. How did I not hear about that? What the fuck? That is the most dystopian thing I've ever heard in my life. That is so fucking bad. Fighting games used to be about reacting to your opponent. You would play the person. Now you just play the best attacks per the frame data and meta. I suppose that it... You know what's funny about that too? Like, I climbed to top ranks in For Honor, and I never... Like, I didn't think about that when I was playing. When I was playing, it was just me and the other guy. Like, it was cool to go into the training arena and like, sort of look at that frame data. But yeah, like just climbing ladder, I never really needed it. It was just nice to know. I don't know. Yeah, no, I don't know. That's interesting though.
I sure didn't. You have a little base that collects resources, but other people can raid it. With FOB insurance, you don't lose anything when you get raided, like resources and personnel. It's all just weird, you know? The concept feels out of place in a military world like Metal Gear. In fact,
It's my mic. Yeah, let's see. I'm using this mic because my audio interface is like fucked up right now. I can like lower the sensitivity a little bit. There you go. It's a little in the red. Hold on, let me take it down a little bit more.
entire persistent
we'll
base
see how
that
this
can
is
get
for a
rated
little bit.
feels out of place. Like a free-to-play gimmick they slapped into a full-price game. I don't know why it's there. Why would I want that? I'm playing a long story game that otherwise doesn't have any features even vaguely like that. I don't know. Metal Gear Solid games have just received some of the weirdest microtransactions ever. If you remember Metal Gear Survive, which I don't blame you if you do not remember it, they had microtransactions for save slots. They wanted you to pay for save slots. And number 2 is the Gnome's Attic. It's a microtransaction masquerading as DLC. When you see the price tag for this add-on content for Little Nightmares 2, you'd be inclined to think it is a DLC. Something like the DLC for the first game.
Paying money for save slots is diabolical.
A significant chunk of new stuff
That's
to play
like
through. Is it?
That's even worse than the in-game base insurance. That's like the worst fucking thing I've ever heard.
No.
But I actually do remember that one. That one I do remember.
Like, you're not playing as one of the gnomes from the main game. You're not tiny in a big attic environment. It's just a one-room attic. That's the new DLC area. A small upstairs space you can access in Chapter 1. There's a short puzzle, and if you beat it, you get a new hat. That's it. Extra 5 minutes,
the fuck?
and you get a hat. What's really happening here is you're buying a hat with some extra steps. Like, you're buying a hat in a package that's hard to open, basically.
Oh, I see.
It's so light on content, it almost feels like a prank.
Yeah.
It just doesn't make any sense. Until you see the publisher, that is. Bandai Namco! Hey, there they are.
Oh
Do
my
I know
god.
you? No, but that's where you are. You're there. I mean, it probably explains why the main devs jumped ship and worked on their own in-name only sequel with a different publisher. At number 1, Roblox's pay-to-breathe scheme. There's a whole other world of microtransactions that most of us, or at least the type of people who watch this channel, never really see. I'm talking the dark underbelly of the gaming world, the sort of thing we only experience when we're forced to babysit. I'm talking about the twist.
Bro, like I don't mean to invoke the wrath of like a bunch of Roblox players, but it's like I just can never get into that. Like I know that it's not as simple as just saying you don't like Roblox because there's just so much shit that it could be. But it's like the vibes are off, and every time I get on that game and play those little mini games or like those little in-game games, I'm never having any fun. You know what I mean?
twisted hellscape that is Roblox. You better thank me for attempting to research this, because anyone who tries to explain how anything in this game works, it just reads like the deranged scribbling of a madman. Like, in all seriousness, if somebody you know plays Roblox, they're probably a child, they're probably your child, and they probably say things to you that you have no freaking idea what the hell it is. But you know what? Guess what?
I only know one person who plays Roblox, and he's 29 years old. He's older than me. If you're watching, bro, you know who you are.
There's a game in Roblox that you have to pay to breathe. That's the headline. Man has to pay to breathe in Roblox.
Is it like a Demon Slayer
New York
thing?
Times does not care, though. They're pretty much doing the same thing over there anyway. The actual explanation isn't quite as funny, but it is bizarre, okay? There's a Demon Slayer game. It's called Demon Fall, and in it there are different types of breathing styles. They all have their own special moves and stuff, and they have different classes in an RPG. And if you want to switch to one breathing style from another one, you have to pay money. There are ways to not pay, which involve prestiging and spinning wheels and using something called breath and dite. But if I'm a baby playing this game and my brain's still developing, I'm not figuring that stuff up. I'm just mashing the buy button and using
I'm
Roblox
safe.
blocks.
I would never play that anyway.
I hate all
I'm
of
safe.
the words from this game. I do have a bonus for you before we leave. The seasonal DLC fatalities from Mortal Kombat 1. They finally just gave up and started selling fatalities. That alone's weird enough. They're not skins or costumes or weapons.
Dude, I remember back in the day, like Mortal Kombat X, like you could get like a new Sub-Zero skin for like $1, $2 maybe. Like, we've come a long way from Halo 3, just where you could unlock all the cosmetics by just being fucking goated at the game and being a completionist. That's how it should always be, and I like that. Or like Halo Reach, where you just earned in-game credits and then you bought things with the credits. But like, I remember Mortal Kombat X and like buying like a $1 Sub-Zero skin or a $2 Sub-Zero skin and thinking, yeah, that was a pretty good deal. Meanwhile, nowadays we've got like fucking $20 fucking skins, $50, $60 skin bundles that are like the price of a game. It's like, damn, just how things have snowballed over time.
Little gameplay features like your standard microtransactions. There are violent animations where one guy kills another guy with a pumpkin. Also, they're basically the thing that sets Mortal Kombat completely apart from everything else. It's the unique feature of Mortal Kombat. But what makes it even more bizarre is they're not just any fatalities, they're holiday-themed fatalities. So far, there's 3 up for sale.
Goofy.
Halloween, Thanksgiving, and Christmas. You know, the big holidays? That's a Thanksgiving-themed murder, and it's not targeted at a turkey, okay? In the Christmas one, your opponent gets run over by a heavy metal reindeer. And as bad as these things are in principle, just the fact they're actually charging for fatalities, it turns my stomach.
Lame.
But I mean, I will say at least they put a lot.
It's one of those things where, you know, you don't have to invest money in it, so it's ultimately like harmless, I guess, you know? And the fact that it's like, in my opinion, the actual lore-based, like in-game character-based fatalities are always going to be better than some gimmicky Halloween or holiday one. But I mean, yeah, it's just lame, you know? It's just lame, and you certainly shouldn't have to pay for it. Also weird. It's just Megan Fox is in this game, John Cena. That like, but I guess, you know, a lot of people are mocapped now. I guess we'd better start getting used to it. That's so funny.
A lot of effort into them. They're bizarre and well animated and in their own way satisfying. I hate to admit it, but it's true. Satisfying enough to pay for them? No, but whatever. That's all I got for you today. Leave us a comment. Let us know what you think.
All right, well, that was 10 microtransactions